Hello YouTube and hello Ninth Age community. This is Charles with Evershade Gaming, and I've got another Ninth Age battle report, Buckeye Battles, round 4, list!
Alright everybody, I want you to be able to hear me on this one. This is Mr. Andrew Rapman playing Saurian Engines. He's got a Godot Lord, Alchemy, Pyromancy, a battle stand and bear essence the free man with the sun tablet. He's trained from birth with grasp of the immortal. You know, that Godot Lord everyone's running these days. And he's got Saurian Warlord, who's the general on a connoisseur with shield, dust forged, light armor, basalt infusion, lance, supernatural dexterity, and the obsidian rock. He's got 20 Saurian warriors with spears, musician champion, 15 Saurian warriors, musician champion, 15 king braves, shield and poison javelin. Baby, you know they got that musician. 2 snake swarms with scout. 2 things of weapon pieces with spearbacks. 3 pterodon sentries with poison javelins. 1 Stitchiosaur who's a mystic traveler. And 2 Thyroscutus with the altar of the snake god.
Our map was Counter Thrust, and our objective was Spoils of War. My opponent won the roll, or I won the roll for table sides. My opponent got to start deploying first. These are my spells for this game. I took Pyroclastic Flow, Fireball, Flaming Swords Cascading Fire from Pyromancy, and I took Quicksilver Lash from Alchemy with my Magical Heirloom. My opponent and I, this is, Sunday morning, we're playing game 4, and we got to the table, and it kind of looked horrendous, which can sometimes happen when, people are packing up and stuff from the day before, a long day of gaming. So we just rolled up one of the map packs, and this is our faithful recreation of it, as well as possible as we could. That little tape measure is the wall. And these are my opponent's spells. So his Mystic Traveler has Awaken the Beast and Spark of Creation. And then he's got Quicksilver Lash, Word of Iron, Glory Gold, Molten Copper, Corruption of Tin, and Alchemical Fire. So pretty good stuff. The only thing I feel like he would have benefited from Silver Spike. I don't even know if he really needed Word of Iron, but anyway, he's got good stuff. Really gross magic. It's going to be tough, so my opponent dropped one of his Pterodon Sentries first. I countered with a unit of Riders. My opponent dropped another Pterodon Sentry, so I put down another unit of Riders. And my opponent put down 15 Saurus Warriors, so I put my Electoral Cav with Great Weapons down in the corner. And then my opponent put one of his Thyroscutuses down, and was kind of having a hard time deciding what I wanted to do. So I feel like I had an idea, and I decided to just go for it. So I dropped the rest of my miniatures and put my steam tank and my wizard and my crossbows on the left to sort of protect the one spoil there. I put my flagellants in the middle to sort of be a roadblock for the second one in the middle, and then I had my knights on the hill with their hopes to kind of go after the other, the one right in front of them. That was my idea at the time of deployment. Looking back, not happy with this deployment at all, and I'll show you why. This is my opponent's counter deployment. And I did go for turn 1. So what my opponent does is he loads up the middle with his Spearback, 2 Spearback units. He has his Cthulhu Lord on pretty much the left side of the field, but sort of trying to keep a little bit of range with, and he's got 24 inches to do the Symbiosis with the Mystic Traveler. and he, has one Thyroscutus on each side of the board. He's got pretty much all of his scoring on that one side, and just a bunch of chaff on the side with my knights. So let's look at vanguards. This is actually just a picture, I think, of showing where his two characters were. So my opponent vanguards both of his pterodons back. I basically just vanguard things over, and then this is the start of turn. I sort of wanted just to keep everything by my knights because I felt that they were going to have a hard time sort of navigating all the different things on the side of the board. And yeah, I don't know. I just was kind of hoping that I could sort of almost just keep my wizard back and just try and do some pyro and use my cannon, maybe get to the Thrascutus and maybe tie some stuff up with the steam tank. And this is Empire Sonnstahl turn 1. So I moved all my riders to be around my knights so that basically so that my knights can, as much as possible, maybe mitigate charges and stuff like that. I was really sort of scrambling here because initially my turn 1 idea was march, get up on the one of the spoils, pick it up turn 2, and sort of just turn the one way. And then, I feel like once I saw the Stygiosaur, I just kind of, I don't know, I feel like I panicked and I feel like I thought too much about the breath weapon. And I felt like I couldn't do that anymore. So unfortunately, which in hindsight, I feel like I should have just soaked it up and just sort of moved on from it. I really wanted to use my riders to try and take out or work on, or try and weaken the pterodons, but my opponent did a good play by just moving them back. So yeah, not a very eventful turn 1 for sure. I get Flux card 4. I get a Fireball off, and it does 3 wounds to the pterodons. They don't panic. I can only blaze the Saurus. They don't take a wound. And I'm able to get a Quicksilver Lash off on this bad boy and do 2 wounds to him. So this is my opponent's turn 1. He sort of just adjusts some of his chaff. He moves up, aggressively on the left side of the field there. There's not really all that much over there. And he, that's pretty much about it. I think he might have adjusted his spearbacks. They're going to really plug into the flagellants. He's just sort of preparing his chaff to be available to be a nuisance. And, yeah. So, my opponent gets Flux card 4. And he really gets off is Sparker Creation, and it just evaporates this unit of riders. So, he just gets like 6 hits and does all the wounds, and they're just gone. So that was a little bit unfortunate turn 1 just to see a whole unit gone from a single magic missile, but it's going to happen. Spearbacks open up, and they do, 7 wounds, so pretty good. My opponent was rolling so many hits on these things. It was insane. Empire Sonnstahl turn 2, I decide that I want to, I'm thinking like I've made a mistake already in not moving up. So I'm thinking, let me charge the snake swarms. I've got a reroll on the hill, and I fail it. I want to say it was a 10, so it was a little bit of a longer charge, but I fail it, and I go forward quite a bit. So now that unit's just going to be able to chaff me. So that is also a mistake. So not a very solid start of this game. This is the rest of my movement turn 2. I slightly edge up the flagellants. Again, I just sort of want them to attract some attention and to kind of just be a nuisance. Move my steam tank up to kind of start protecting that side of the field and to be a bit of a speed bump and sort of have to challenge my opponent what he wants to do. I move up my riders because they're a little bit safe with the steam tank there, and they can sort of try and poke some wounds on that one unit of Saurus. Flex card 8, which would be awesome. I think I try and get Flaming Swords off, or either I get it off and it doesn't do anything, or my opponent stops it. I think I might get a Blaze that does a wound to the Pterodons, but they don't flee. And I think I'd get another spell off. I think I'd do a Cascading Fire, and it can't kill the Pterodons. And I want to say that's it. So unfortunately, I couldn't even get rid of that Chaff this turn. That was pretty much the objective of that magic phase. I do a couple wounds with my Riders here, which is appreciated. And then this is going into Saurian Ancient's turn 2. So he's just going to roadblock me with that one Pterodon, which is frustrating. And he moves up one spear back to sort of be a speed bump. Yeah, that's pretty much about it. Yeah, and you can see he's able to chaff me with one of his snake swarms, which is frustrating. So now my knights still aren't going anywhere, and I still got pretty much all the threats are still there, and I'm having a lot of trouble removing anything. And my opponent's very close to being able to pick up one of the spoils now. He gets corruption to 10 off of my knights. I just can't stop it. Good roll. Frustrating, obviously, with, one up armor saves. And then also, I think this was the spell I wanted to stop this turn. I couldn't stop it, and he does max damage with a Quicksilver Lash on the Steam Tank, which is, even more frustrating. Yeah. Those Dink Toll Lord. Shooting opens up and just keeps ripping through the Flagellants. And these guys on Emperor Sonnstahl turn 3 fail their frenzy check, so they have to charge. And I want to say I didn't want to see them just disappear, so I think I decided just to charge the ones that were farther away so that they could maybe still be there. And maybe that's after the stand and shoot. Yeah, that looks like after the stand and shoot. So, which they are still there. So now they're still sort of speed bumping as much as they can. And this is where in Empress Sonnstahl turn 3, I had this thought on my second turn, and I wish I had done it then, which was to just turn my knights and go the other way. Because the right side of the field was a bunch of chaff, a bunch of small units that I can't really get rid of, or that's difficult to get rid of, that are cheap, and on the left side of the field is all of his scoring units and his wizard. So because on turn 2 I decided I wanted to try and charge the chaff, failed that long charge, regretted it, decided this turn that screw that, the knights are going to the left, and they just move 9 inches the other way. And I wish I did that on my turn 2. Pretty much decide, I make a different, so I decided with the Steam Tank not to just go after the Pterodon. My goal was to get the Steam Tank on the Spoils of War so that my opponent could not move on it this turn. However, I didn't go far enough. I think I needed to go 8 inches, and I went 7. So unfortunately there, I got a little unlucky. In hindsight, I debated whether or not I should forgo shooting to make sure I get on the objective, but I was optimistic at the time about you still using the cannon to try and get rid of the Thyroscutus. So I wish I could have got on the objective this turn. That would have been very good overall for my game, but unfortunately I just couldn't do it. I get Flex card 6, which I want to say maybe do a Cascading Fire over there, which might put a Blaze on the Saurus that takes a wound off, but nothing of real consequence. I think that's it for the magic phase. I shoot over here and pop a wound. I shoot over here, get rid of this bad boy, thankfully. And the cannon misses. And on this turn, my opponent decides that he wants to get rid of the Steam Tank, so he's going to put the Thyroscutus and the Saurian warriors in the flank. And then he decides these guys want to come out into play, so they go for the flagellants. So everybody makes it, and this is what the board looks like. So sort of kind of wants to start closing in. Yeah, that's pretty much about it. He, turns the Cthulhu Lord to kind of get some sight on the knights. I think he's got the Stygisaur, not quite close enough to use the range there, but that's not that big of a deal. Yeah, he's just sort of doesn't go into my chaff. Yeah, he's just sort of, being a nuisance to me. And yeah, trying to get rid of the Steam Tank this turn. He gets Flux Card 8, which is tough. I think he sparks these guys out of existence. And I want to say this might be shooting, actually. And he does get Word of Iron and Gloria Gold off. Despite that, the Steam Tank, I think he just gets a small Word of Iron off. And he does get Gloria Gold off. Despite that, my opponent has a tough time wounding still, and he only suffered 1 wound, so the Steam Tank's got 5 wounds on it. It does its grinds, and it kills 5, so I was pretty pleased with that. But the Crush attack hits and wounds and finishes me off. So this is another part in the game where I was just... if it went the other way, it would have been huge. Because obviously the Steam Tank's unbreakable. My opponent wouldn't have been able to reform because he would have had to keep 5 models in contact, and I would have been able to charge my knights into his Saurus, which would have just drastically altered the game. Unfortunately, as it is, the Steam Tank is no longer there, and now my opponent's going to be able to pick up that objective. So on this turn, realizing that kind of that option is gone for me because my hesitation on turn 2, Empire Sonnstahl turn 4, these guys just sort of prepare themselves, and I put up Steady Men. I decide to charge these guys. I take 1 wound going in, but maybe I can get rid of them, get some points. And this is what the board looks like. So I have my riders more than 4 inches from those Saurus. They're going to just pepper some shots and then, maybe take a charge. I have my knights sort of just ready to face down any of those threats if they want to go in the center of the board. And yeah, just move my wizard back. Just trying to get the 1 Source unit to flee. Obviously, it's really difficult with Saurian Ancients, though. Flux Card 1 doesn't help. I get a Quicksilver Lash, but I don't get max hits. I think I only do 2 wounds here. So, hanging on with a single wound, unfortunately. Kill 1 guy here. That's, whatever. And I think I do a wound or 2 here with my crossbows. Not, quite enough to panic. These guys kill the snake swarms, which is great. I think I might take a wound for it, it looks like. But no problem. Drop rocks. This is Saurian Ancient's turn 4. Doesn't, takes a wound, but I don't panic. And as you can see, my opponent decided not to charge my knights here in the middle. He just ignored them and chaffed them, which is oh so frustrating. Molten Copper kills a couple guys. The Stygisaur comes over and does its Toxic Breath Weapon 2, which almost kills me, but still alive. And this bad boy is moving up. And I can't remember what this picture is taking a picture of. This might be the start of Empire Sonnstahl turn 5. Yes. So my prelate is able to charge out and go after these spearbacks, which, he's pretty well equipped to beat those guys up with the Hero's Heart, so I'm happy about that. And yeah, this is sort of the rest of movement. I try, and again, as much as I can, I move my wizard out of the Imperial Guard because I don't want him to get beaten up by the Carnosaur. I move my riders to chaff the Saurus, and I get Flaming Sword up on them to try and finish off the Stygiosaur. I shoot this thing, and I do 3 wounds, and he makes 3 armor saves. So even now, I can't get rid of it. That was, man, that was a low point in the game right there. And these guys continue to, just walk away. Yeah. Combat here goes okay. I don't take any wounds. I win combat, but he doesn't break. And this is going into... Man, I don't know. This must be... oops. This must be going right in. Maybe this is the end of Emperor Sonnstahl turn 5, and this is going into his turn 5. As you can see, I've I put my 2 Electoral Cavalry on the marker, sort of force my opponent to deal with them. I have my knights facing the Carnosaur in case he wants to tangle with the Imperial Guard. Obviously, there's a lot still to be chaffed up by. They do have the 1 Thyoscutus in the front arc. And, yeah. So, start of Saurian Ancients turn 5, I want to say. He charges the Thyoscutus into the crossbows, and praise be to Sunna, I'm able to do a single wound that he fails on a 1-up and get rid of Thyoscutus. So somehow I was able to kill that thing. He charges the riders too. In this combat, I do a couple wounds, but I can't get rid of it, I guess. And this is pretty much the end of the game. Turn 6, he kills the riders, doesn't cause a panic chest in the Imperial Guard. He's able to blow through the 2 Electoral Cab with all his guys. And yeah, he just dances around me, and we don't really get in combat anywhere else. And I keep losing a little bit of knights, but they're all, the unit's still holding on its points. And unfortunately, he does have that 1 spoil up on the left up there. And yeah, that's the end of the game, folks. So this game ends up being a 15-5 win for the Saurian Ancients. Yeah, I mean, it was 12-8, and my opponent won the objective with that 1 spoil. Yeah, mostly just, I have to say, my opponent had some really hot dice with the shooting and the magic. But, I mean, those units that he has that does that are set up to do very well. My opponent played very well. I think he had a great counter deployment. I think he had a good play for just that left side of the board. And I think I just made the wrong play with my knights this game and should have focused on getting them to where my opponent's scoring units were and, just not worrying about the chaff. Unfortunately, it took me too long to get to that point, and I think you saw the results. So everybody, thanks again for watching. Charles from Airshade Gaming. We'll see you soon with another 9th Age Battle Report.